Sometimes I'm just in the mood for a romantic comedy, no matter how simple it might be. Because sometimes the simple ones, they might surprise you. The Netflix original movie I Love You Stupid brings together Nymphadora from Harry Potter and the star from that other Netflix original series, The Neighbor. Are the sparks gonna fly in this one, or is it just a complete waste of time? In I Love You Stupid, Marcos is a down-on-his-luck 30-something who is looking for romance, or at least a hookup. And when he runs into an old high school friend, Raquel, his life begins to be shaken up. Quim Gutierrez, I think that's how you say his first name, he stars as Marcos. And like I said at the beginning, he is the star of the other Netflix original series that came out earlier in 2020 called The Neighbor, or El Vecino, which is kind of a Spanish greatest American hero. I like in this movie that he breaks the fourth wall constantly, that we get to know his inner thoughts, and they're snarky, they're sarcastic, and for the most part, they're funny. Natalia Tena is Raquel, and it threw me for a minute when I first saw her because it was like, is she Nymphadora from Harry Potter or Osha from Game of Thrones? It looks like her, but she's speaking Spanish really well, and I know she's a Brit. So how is this messing with my mind? Sure enough, quick little search on IMDb. Absolutely, this is the one. Cool. Raquel is a fun-loving free spirit, and as it turns out, she's really the type of friend that Marcos needs. There's quite a bit of comedy in this too, especially as Marcos tries to reimagine or rediscover himself. And he comes across an online guru, and you use that term very loosely, who gives all kinds of just terrible advice. Also, just as a side note of that one, stay through the credits because there is a mid-credits scene that involves the guru that I did find quite funny. In addition to the bad advice that Marcos is getting from the online guru, he also has a friend and coworker, Diego. And this dude is pretty shallow, and he doesn't always have the best advice either. I mean, he is truly all about getting it on, and that's it. But in true rom-com fashion, Marcos does have to learn that getting advice from all of these people who say they're the best is not always the best course of action. Now, we don't get a lot of character background on almost any of the characters, but what we do get, especially with Marcos and Raquel, it's enough to endear them to us, to really root for them, to like them, and can appreciate who they are as people, and begin to form an opinion on how we want their outcome to be. The story and the situations in this are pretty simple. I mean, the focus of the narrative is mainly hooking up and getting Marcos back out into the dating pool. Now, what that does is that leads to some comedic situations. Unfortunately, some of those are shown in the trailer too, so they ruined the surprise. Like there was one that I think could have been really good, but I saw it in the trailer, and so then it was just kind of like, oh, well, I've seen this already. Well, that's a bummer. Because so much of this is focused on Marcos making a sexual conquest and not really finding a soulmate, the romantic part of the romantic comedy kind of feels vapid. It definitely takes that back seat to everything else going on, and it makes it feel like more of a shallow movie than maybe it could have been. For the story itself, you can totally see where it's headed, and that predictability didn't harm my overall enjoyment of the film. I mean, they're not breaking any new ground here. It is just a romantic comedy, and they're following the playbook. But the chemistry between Raquel and Marcos, that's what made the movie for me. Had that not been there, had they not worked well together and had fun and made me feel like I was having part of the fun too, this would have been just not very good of a watch at all. I mean, they need to be likable people that I want to root for. And that's what we get. We get two people who I can enjoy, and I can watch Marcos be the stupid guy at points, and then kind of the light bulb goes on, and you see how he understands things, and he tries to make the change for the better. And Raquel is just enjoyable pretty much the entire way through because she's not a terrible person. And so them together, them separate, a lot of fun. It is quick, it's lighthearted, it's only 87 minutes, so it's not even a big time investment. But you can have fun despite it being a little bit surface level. There's a bunch of sex, nudity, and profanity, but no violence. I give I Love You Stupid 3 out of 5 couches. So what is your favorite romantic comedy? Let me know in the comments below if you've got one that you can choose, if you can narrow it down to one, or maybe one that you just watch most often because it's convenient or it makes you feel great. It doesn't really matter. Romantic comedies are awesome most of the time to watch, and I get a kick out of a ton of them. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.